You ever have that feeling, when you know exactly what you should be doing, but you just can't make yourself do it? It's like you're paralyzed by your own thoughts. Well, today, we're getting into the story of someone who was completely trapped in that state and how she stumbled upon a simple, almost silly-sounding trigger to break free, a trigger that would end up changing millions of lives.
So let's start right there. In 2009, Mel Robbins was consumed by depression, watching her life spiral into financial ruin and professional collapse, until a simple, mundane television commercial provided the solution. I mean, think about that for a second. The answer to a life-destroying crisis came from a TV ad. This isn't just some feel-good story about motivation. This is really an explainer on neuroscience, pure desperation, and the incredible discovery of a physical tool to override our brain's deepest instinct to sabotage itself.
All right, so let's get into it. The downward spiral, anatomy of a crisis. Because to really get how powerful her solution is, you first have to understand just how deep the hole was. This wasn't just a bad mood or a tough month. This was rock bottom. Just try to put yourself in her shoes for a moment. Your husband's business has gone under. You're now facing $800,000 in debt. There's a lien on your house. You've lost your job. And on top of all that, you're wrestling with a depression so severe you literally can't get out of bed. That was her reality every single day. The alarm would go off and her mind would just be flooded with all the reasons to stay right there. The shame, the anxiety, the sheer weight of it all. It was total physical paralysis. But here's where it gets really interesting. Mel Robbins has a background as a criminal defense attorney, right? So she didn't just wallow in this feeling, she started to investigate it. She put her own brain on trial, analyzing her own inaction with this incredible intellectual rigor. She was looking for the root cause, not just the symptoms. And she knew, deep down, this wasn't some character flaw. No, this wasn't laziness. It was something else, a pattern of self-sabotage that felt almost automatic. And this is the core of what she figured out. Her inability to act was a neuroscientific phenomenon. See, our brains are wired to protect us from anything that feels dangerous. And danger isn't just a lion chasing you. It's also uncertainty, difficulty, or potential failure. So, getting out of bed to face massive debt, your brain screams, danger. Making a difficult phone call, danger. Her brain was slamming on the emergency brake, trying to keep her safe by keeping her stuck. But then, right in the middle of all this darkness and paralysis, a completely random idea sparked. And it came from the most unlikely place you can imagine. And it completely changed the story from one of despair to one of, well, action. So one night, she's just sitting there, kind of mindlessly watching TV, and a commercial comes on. Nothing special, not some motivational guru or anything. It was just a generic ad with a rocket launch in it, something you've seen 1,000 times. But for some reason, on this particular night, it just hit different. She sees the rocket. She hears that classic countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff. And in that one instant, it was like a light bulb went off in her head. A powerful, defiant thought. She said to herself, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. Tomorrow morning, I am going to launch myself out of bed like a rocket. She decided right then and there to create her own trigger, her own countdown, to force her body into action before her brain could stop her. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And this became the central idea of everything that followed. It wasn't about waiting until she felt like getting up. I mean, think about it. A rocket doesn't feel like launching. It's activated by a system, a deliberate sequence. She decided she was going to apply that same mechanical certainty to her own life and use a command to interrupt her brain's default setting of, nope, stay right here. So she actually did it. The next morning, the alarm goes off, that familiar feeling of dread starts to creep in, but before her brain could even start making excuses, she just started counting out loud. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And she stood up. It worked. But why? Why did this ridiculously simple trick actually work? Well, this is where the science gets really cool. This, of course, became the 5-second rule. And let's be clear, this is not just some cute motivational hack. It's a genuine neuroscientific tool. It's designed specifically to interrupt that 5-second window between when you have an instinct to do something and when your brain kills that instinct with doubt or fear. The countdown is just a simple way to force your brain to shift gears, to go from thinking mode to doing mode. So here's how it works. That part of your brain that loves to overthink, to worry, to come up with every worst-case scenario, That's your prefrontal cortex. Now, here's the key. The reason you count backwards is because it requires focus. Counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a habit. You can do it without thinking. But 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 makes your brain pay attention. And in that tiny moment of focus, you're interrupting the worry loop. You're occupying the mental space that would have been filled with excuses. You're basically hijacking the very system designed to stop you.
And this really shows you the battle that's going on in your head. On one side, you've got the hesitation brain. It just wants to analyze everything to death, create fear, and stay comfy. It's in protect mode. But on the other side, you have the action principle, which is what the 5-second rule activates. It interrupts all that thinking, forces physical movement, and helps you push into the uncertainty where all the good stuff happens.
And that leads to maybe the most important takeaway of all. You can't think your way out of anxiety. You can't analyze your way out of being stuck. You can't just wish it away. The entire philosophy here is that physical, forward movement, action, is the only antidote. Taking action literally changes your brain chemistry. It shifts your focus, and it proves to that scared part of your brain that the danger wasn't so dangerous after all. So how do you actually use this thing? Well, what started as a simple rule to just get out of bed quickly turned into a whole system for taking action in every part of her life. It became a routine for taking back control. Here's the protocol, and its genius is in its simplicity. 1. You have an impulse, that little voice that says, hey, you should speak up in this meeting, or you should really go to the gym. 2. You feel that wave of hesitation. You know the one. Maybe later. That feeling is your cue. 3. You immediately start counting backwards out loud. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And 4, this is non-negotiable, the second you hit 1, you physically move. You don't think, you move. Go. The whole point of this protocol is to basically close the gap between your intention and your action down to nothing. It's not about finding motivation, it's about creating it with movement. That countdown is like a starter pistol at a race. It just blasts through all that emotional resistance and mental chatter and replaces the question, do I feel like it, with the command, move. And the rule got even more powerful when she built this whole system of what she calls psychological hygiene around it. Things like the high five habit, literally high-fiving yourself in the mirror every morning to build self-validation, or controlling your environment, both by getting rid of physical clutter and, more importantly, getting rid of the mental clutter that feeds your anxiety. It's about building a whole ecosystem in your life that supports action. So what happened when she started living this way? Well, the results were, frankly, revolutionary. Not just for her own life, but for the millions of people who would eventually hear her story and try it for themselves. I mean, just look at this timeline. The contrast is staggering. In 2009, she's at the absolute bottom, in debt, no job, in a personal crisis. Fast forward to today, and she's a leading global authority on taking action and beating self-sabotage. Her entire life is the proof that the system works. She didn't just teach this stuff. She clawed her way out of ruin by living it. And that's really her legacy, isn't it? She took all this complicated brain science and psychology and boiled it down into a tool so practical and simple that anyone, anywhere can use it. She basically took the idea of motivation away from fuzzy concepts like willpower and turned it into a concrete, physical trigger you can pull anytime you need it. This might be one of the most powerful ideas to come out of all of her work. We tend to think of courage as something you're born with. You either have it or you don't. But she just completely reframes it. Courage isn't a feeling, it's a decision. It's the simple, routine, physical action of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, especially when you're scared. And that means courage is available to every single one of us in any given moment. Okay, so we've walked through her crisis, her big idea, and the system she built. But now, this has to turn towards you. How does this story become a call to action in your life? It all boils down to mastering that tiny 5-second moment of hesitation. If there's one single thing you take away from all this, please let it be this. You have to act before you feel ready. The idea that you need to wait for motivation to strike is probably the biggest lie we tell ourselves about making a change. That feeling of, I'm ready, it's a myth. Action is what creates motivation. Action is what creates confidence, not the other way around. And that's because waiting to feel ready is your brain's favorite excuse. It sounds so reasonable, doesn't it? Just wait until you're a little more prepared. But really, it's just a trick to keep you safe and comfortable. Because every second you wait, that hesitation turns into doubt, and that doubt turns into fear, and before you know it, you're paralyzed again. The 5-second rule is your weapon against that lie. So let me ask you right now,
What's the impulse you've been pushing down? What's that conversation you know you need to have? The project you need to start? The workout you need to do? Just think of one thing. That little whisper telling you to move, that's your target.
So let's wrap this up. Mel Robbins built her career on the hard-won truth that action is the only cure for anxiety. Her trigger provided a simple, neuroscientific tool for mastering that critical 5-second window of hesitation, that moment where dreams either take flight or they die. And it all leaves us with one immutable rule. The only thing holding you back from that next action, that next step, that next launch is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.